struct, the name of the struct type, and then we specify all the different properties that the struct will have. So in this case, I made a car. It can have a string of make, a string of model, and an unsigned integer of the car's value. We most commonly use structs to represent a singular thing. So this is a great example right here. We are representing a singular car, and this car has many properties assigned to it. We could also use a struct to represent, say, a desk, a piece of furniture, a person, a house. We usually use them to represent a singular thing. So at this point, mappings probably look quite similar. The difference here is that we usually use a mapping to represent a collection of things. So we might store a collection of different cars inside of a mapping, or we might store a collection of different houses inside of a mapping. In other words, use a struct to represent a singular thing, use a mapping to represent many things. The project that we work on in the next section, which again is where we're going to start seeing maps and structs come up, are going to give you a very good example of exactly how mappings and structs are different. And they very quickly will feel very different, but I know from the definitions I'm giving right here, they seem quite similar. All right, so that's just a quick overview on mappings and structs. Again, I just wanted to give you a quick taste. Let's pause right here. There's one quick, really big gotcha that I want to mention about these reference types. So let's take care of that in the next video.
Is the Lex Friedman podcast, and here's my conversation with Sergey Nazarov.
Is that Yoshik there?
So I gave away everything I own a few times in my life, and he accidentally survived. And I don't like stuffed animals. What I really liked about, I got him in a thrift store. What I liked about him is because I'd never seen a stuffed animal that looks pissed off at life. Like they're usually smiling in the dumbest of ways, and this guy was just pissed.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, that's actually pretty funny.
I like this guy. If you had to live only in the digital world or the physical world, which would you choose? To know the reality of who you are as an individual. So that means you can create businesses, you can create tools that...
Tried to make this thought experiment of would you be comfortable if everything that was happening to you happened in a simulation. What they were trying to do is they were intuitively trying to understand. Is that Yoshik there?
So I gave away everything I own a few times in my life, and he accidentally survived. And I don't like stuffed animals. What I really liked about, I got him that looks pissed off at life. That looks pissed off at life. That looks pissed off at life. That looks pissed off at life.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, that's actually pretty funny.
I like this guy. If you had to live only in the digital world or the physical world, which would you choose?
So I think this is actually a question more about what the fidelity of the digital world would be versus the physical world. I think this type of question, this whole simulation thing actually comes from papers about 20, 30 years ago in the philosophical world, where people tried to make this thought experiment of would you be comfortable if everything that was happening to you happened in a simulation. What they were trying to do is they were intuitively trying to understand is there some kind of intuitive personal connection we have to something being the real world, right? And then the Matrix movie actually came out of these papers, and then these ideas made their way into the public consciousness. I personally think that if I had the choice to be in the digital world at the same fidelity as the real world with immortality, I would absolutely go with the digital.
Wait. How'd you add the immortality part? You don't get immortality.
If you think about how we would go into the digital world, right, our brain patterns would be mapped onto some kind of probably virtual machine, right? And that would mean immortality. immortality, right? Because the virtual machine has no limit to how long it can.
Well, don't you think there would be like a versioning system? Like there'd be, this is a softcore versus hardcore question, whether Sergey version 2.0 would be different from Sergey version 1.0. There'll be an upgrade, so that's immortality. Sergey, we get like a soft update, and then that's it.
Yeah, when people go into the Star Trek transporter, or are they transported? Yeah. I don't really know. Can you put on this? I haven't really thought about it. Why?
They put in the transporter.
Not
what does fidelity mean exactly? You strictly, so the fidelity of the physical world is question is physics, quantum mechanics is at the bottom of it all. Or do you mean the actual experience? Like
it's just perception. It's just perception.
But that's one cognitive capability.
It is, but I don't really have anything else, right? I think all of these papers that brought up these formulations, they were like in epistemology and metaphysics, and what they were trying to do, I think, was they were trying to put people through a thought experiment where they would come out on the other end and say, the reality of life is really worth something, and I don't, ignorance isn't bliss. Consistent statement in the Matrix, right? Ignorance is bliss. That's what one of the guys says when he's like, doing something wrong and trying to get back into the Matrix. And the question is bliss. And it's like a that. I think from a first point, my opinions aren't in any way different. So very good. It doesn't matter. I don't know, right? So if I don't know something, it doesn't really exist, and if it doesn't exist in my perception or my consciousness, then it doesn't exist. Period, for me, at least. And then whether it exists, this version of things. I personally never really got into the metaphysics stuff because I could never really I couldn't understand what the point of it was, right? It's one of these things where I couldn't really get what the practical application of it was, and this is from those realm of questions, right? Like, if there was something about the world, but you didn't have a capacity to perceive it, would it matter to you? To me, it wouldn't matter.
Right. To me, by the way, the simulation thing is a really interesting engineering question.